Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFurio. I'm your host for the show, and I'm glad to have you here. Hello to those of you watching on YouTube. By the way, if you subscribe to the show, might as well subscribe on YouTube as well. We've got a lot of listeners here. The channel is growing, but I appreciate all of you following and commenting and rating the show and all those 5-star reviews. It makes a big difference. So if you're interested in coaching and consulting, by the way, and I say this almost like an aside, but it really is what I do full time. You know, my day in the office is spent talking to coffee shop owners and soon to be coffee shop owners just all day, and I have my key holder coaching groups. We're just starting our first group for the fall cohort this week. We talk with coffee shop owners through the show, through that coaching group, and I get to talk with them one-on-one in coaching conversations to help them fix issues, come up with solutions to challenges, to really just create the next level of excellence in their cafe with operations, with people, with quality. And if those of you who are opening a coffee shop and you want an advisor along the way to help you create something beautiful, then this is what I've been honored to do for a lot of different businesses over the last almost 10 years now that we've been doing this. So thanks, everybody. You can email chris@keystotheshop.com. I'm always here if you want to reach out. And it's not a one-size-fits-all solution with Keys to the Shop. There are principles we apply, but I really am curious about what's going on in your cafe and with your staff and with you as the owner. If you're thinking about it, you can email chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode is sponsored by Arto Brick, and that's on Instagram @ArtoBrick, and the Pacific Barista Series, pacificfoodservice.com. You can find information there, but we'll talk about them later in the episode. But I want to get right into the content today. This comes to me as a thought that I'm like, I need to make an episode about this. I heard our friend, coffee and people enthusiast, Andrew Sinclair of Mad Lab Coffee in LA. Fantastic guy, great coffee, great heart. The kind of heart that you just want to transplant into every coffee person, I think. But in one of his, I think I could say, famous lectures, stairwell fireside chats, if you will, on Instagram, he was talking about systems. And it's been about 2 weeks now, but I remember hearing him say something about how systems are great and, all this stuff. But then it's not all there is. And I thought that, I think I texted him like, of course, yes, of course, that's right. We talk about this. I know that he focuses on the idea that, yeah, he has systems, of course. He is a roaster. He owns multiple and runs multiple coffee shops. You got to have systems. But there's something beyond systems where if you plugged in the thing that you paid a lot of money for from a consultant, or you downloaded from the internet, or you copied the homework of another coffee business and said, that's going to work for me, you're going to quickly find that there is just enough relief of whatever ails you to make you completely like bought in. Like, this is working, and it is 100% going to cure the whole thing. But it's just enough also to actually allow you to ignore other issues that gave rise to the need for a system. So I want to dive a little deep into this idea of something that maybe I'm guilty of here on the show, because I talk about systems are a form of care. And to a degree, I also think I'm responsible for how my words land in the ears of the hearer of this show. But then I can't control how everybody filters it. Sometimes when people tell me, yeah, I learned this from your show, I think, that's not what I meant. There's other things I said too that balance that. And it's hard when you're doing have a medium like this to have a totality of balance and nuance for every subject. You hear me make qualifiers all the time when we're talking about the us versus them thing that happens between baristas and ownership and all this stuff, because I don't want people to think that I'm piling on one group over the other. And so you try your best to have balance, but sometimes in a quest to be completely balanced and completely, what do you call it, fair to everybody, you lose the impact of the point itself. Diplomatic, that's the word I wanted. In this case, I think we talk about systems because a lot of people just don't have them. And it's a very real need in cafes to have a way to do something. I have a client who's opening a coffee bar. We just started doing the work where we start with all keys to the shop clients with menu, space, and values. And when we were talking, it came up that they were thinking, okay, well, I don't know a lot about coffee, and at the same time, this person is a business owner. They know a lot about what they want. They also know, how they want to treat people and how they want people to treat one another and the customer. So there's a lot of good things that I think are happening there. Like, you don't have to necessarily understand coffee right off of the, right out of the gate in order to open a coffee shop. Does it help? Yes, of course. And preferably, you could even work in coffee. But plenty of people have done this that have been very successful and have not done it. But the point is, she was talking about how, the hiring of a barista would be this, they would have these conversations with a barista where they would be the ones bringing experience, because I don't know coffee. And then I want the barista to be able to kind of speak into what we do in the cafe. It sounds good, but the trouble is, you get two or three baristas, then whose word do you choose? And are they getting second, third, fourth hand information from people that weren't even really good trainers from a place that was going to go out of business? And because they have experience, it's like you are buying a lemon in a sense. Not the person, but their information is just, it sounds good, but the pedigree behind it is bad. And therefore the information is bad. So the point is, and what I said is that there is ultimately this environment that has to be born from a feedback, inclusion of lots of voices, sure, include people's opinions and thoughts. But in the end of the day, you need the brand's version of a standard for how we make espresso, how we do drip coffee, cold brew, how many stirs of a whisk we do. Not that specific, but really you do need a specific standard. You need a system to do it. And so coffee shops suffer all the time from a lack of a system. And maybe at the heart of that is a lack of confidence, a lack of willingness to drill down to a way to do it and overcome the inertia of imposter syndrome, because you know that maybe you don't have as much confidence in your coffee prowess. And so with all these voices in your head about how this is risky and how I need this to work and I don't really know what I'm doing and I don't know a lot about coffee, you just want to go along to get along. And therefore it's less about not having a system. It's more about not having the confidence to make a decision to feed into a system. You can't say this is how we make espresso because you don't have enough confidence in yourself to make a decision. And sometimes you even fear. There are cases where people fear their own decisiveness because they think, if I make this decision, I never want to have to make the decision again. And therefore, I'm going to set this standard for espresso, and I don't want anybody to touch the grinder for 4 months. I don't want anyone to ever, adjust anything because I made a decision. Both of the scenarios where you don't make a decision because of fear, or you make a decision and you refuse to ever make another one, are both born from fear. The answer is to this idea behind why a system might be lacking in a cafe is that you need to be constantly making decisions in order to present consistency to the consumer according to a standard that you are shooting for in multiple categories of your business. The taste of your coffee, the sensation of your coffee. So we'll say this is all what quality is, right? The taste, the sensation, the viscosity, the temperature, all of that stuff, the functionality of the beverage. There are standards that you already have to know you want to hit with that stuff. But many different methodologies might get you there, and you can be open to those methodologies because you have a clear goal in your espresso. We have a clear goal with our beverages, right? You say, well, we want our beverages to be homogenized so the customer gets the full mixed flavor of the vanilla iced latte. Well, there may be a lot of different ways to stir or to shake, to mix. And so, in order to make sure that a system exists in a way that is helpful for the business, it needs to be flexible enough to grow with the business in order to do what it's supposed to do, be a servant to the decided goal based on who is being served. So the focus you have really determines whether or not a system is functionally even an asset or is it a hindrance. Systems can be a replacement for attention. They can be a replacement for decision making, conversation, curiosity. Systems can even be a replacement for character, where you will refuse to take responsibility for a customer's bad decision because, well, we buy great coffee and we made it according to the recipe. So obviously you're wrong. Well, what's happening there? Insecurity on steroids, denial because of the sunk cost of whatever it is that you put into developing this system. And also, again, back to fear. I can't be wrong. What if I'm wrong? I mean, magically, you stop being the owner of the cafe. You can't write checks anymore. You can write checks. You're still the boss. Everybody knows it. No matter how many times you mess up, if you just own it and consider an old episode and based on an even older article from Fresh Cup in the very early 2000s called Higher Degrees of Imperfection. That's our goal, really. We're never going to reach perfection. We don't know what that is. Perfection, the closest level we can attain in perfection is when what we do fits together with what somebody wants seamlessly. And what else is there? We will set our goals in order to serve those people, and we will build safeguards around those things in order to assure them and ourselves that we are making those things well day in and day out. Hospitality systems, making coffee, making food, cleaning, maintenance. I teach a whole workshop on systems. And you better believe that we talk a lot about the relationships that undergird this whole thing, because you could see it in people's eyes. They have just got done reading Michael Gerber's book, E-Myth Revisited. And they're like, I got to work on my business. I got to work on it, not in it, on it, not in it, on it, not in it. And I tell you, some truth is there. But as with anything, it is not 100% of the truth. Hey, everybody, this is Chris. I am grateful that you just decided to be here and listen to this show. I did want to take a moment to talk about our sponsors today. That is Arto Brick. We'll start with Arto Brick, and we're going to go to Pacific Food Service. But Arto Brick is a second-generation, family-run brick, stone, tile, hard surfaces company in Los Angeles. Literally from rock to your shop. This place makes it all, and they make dreams come true. I didn't. I was going to do this, but on YouTube, I'm sorry to those of you on audio, I leave you out here, but my little tile from Armin, the owner, he even signed it for me on the back. It's pretty cool. I put my coffee cup on this, but they make this by hand. They painted it by hand. It's wonderful, and your coffee bar deserves a unique element. And when you talk about surfaces and places people put their feet, their hands, where their eyes rest even, this kind of work is unmatched. Arto.com is the website, but better yet, go to the Instagram account, Arto Brick, at Arto Brick. Armin, the owner, wants to chat with you, so DM Armin. He'll get right back to you and talk about your project. They can become a partner with you and your design team to figure out the coolest coffee shop on the block. So check them out at Arto Brick. Now, also, we are sponsored by the Pacific Food Services Barista Series. That is the line of plant-based performance beverages that baristas around the world swear by because it was made for them. First of all, they were included in the process of tasting and testing. That's why it stands up to the heat from steaming. It produces great texture for good latte art on these beverages. And then also the taste is balanced, so you get the coffee as the star. And they have been in this business since the beginning. They're the OGs, and they remain the cornerstone of plant-based beverages worldwide. So check them out at pacificfoodservice.com, and you can get samples, taste it for yourself, and, don't just take my word for it, taste it. They love to send the product out. So again, if you're looking for the best plant-based beverage for your customers, then check out the Barista Series from Pacific. So the reason why it is the e-myth is not 100% true in the sense that in and of itself it is, but there is a little myth in the e-myth. And that myth is that systems cover all of the sins of omission and commission that you conduct as an owner unintentionally, intentionally, maybe that's the same thing, being redundant. But the system, it will not fix bad leadership. It will not fix lack of communication. Oh, we have a communication system. I have an open door policy. I send out a really meticulously crafted email to my staff, and I put it out through Sling or on Slack or whatever. And I do this every week, and I'm faithful to follow this system. I follow this system. I work on my business, not in my business. But if you were in your business more, you would see people are not responding to your emails because they hate working at your coffee bar, and they are having a problem with their coworkers, and they're having a problem with their life, or the fact that we haven't really cleaned that thing that required some managerial presence to get underneath, and it's really smelling each time they're on the bar and we don't know what it is. There's so many little things that you need to be there to experience that a system will blind you to, because you will be trying to work on it with the idea that I need to not be in it. Now, I get you don't want to be the one to always work the bar 35, 40 hours a week. You don't even have to work as a barista, but being in your business and setting eyes on and having conversations with people, and heck, maybe even working the bar. We just talked about managers have to work the bar. Regional managers, operations managers, you need to be trained and work that bar. You have to be able to remain physically connected to the work that you want others to physically take on, even if it's just a little bit over the course of the year to keep you honest. Systems can be this hideout for people. You know how you know this is true? Because we've got Square. We've got POS systems that are basically a little escape pods where people, have repurposed the boiler room in the back of the roastery with the MacBook in the back there, and occasionally venture out to get a pour over or something, and then bring their cup to the back and look at the numbers. And how do I know this? Because I see it a lot, because I've done it, because the pull away from the community and the work that's being done live and the messiness of relationships is analytics, to analyze and to create such a slick version of your business in your mind. It becomes unreal. It's like the AI version of your coffee shop, and then you get mad at the real version for not lining up with your fake version. So systems can be a hindrance to your coffee shop's progress if they are the thing that you are working for, and you're not working for the people that are working in the business, and the systems are not built for the people, the customers. And the only way that you could build a system for people is to be with people and to understand their needs on a continual basis, in conversation with them, in work with them, shared experiences with them. And then when you do make a list or you make an SOP, you you have a strategy or quarterly focus or whatever it is that you decide to do, it's going to be way more effective and you'll need less of it. When I got done listening to the Extreme Ownership book by Jocko Willink, one thing remains in my mind from that. And I've always said it, but I loved being able to be reminded from another perspective about the principle of simple. The system needs to be simple, very easily communicated, easily understood. Most, if your SOP is too long or your system is too complex, then it probably won't get used. And what is the point of a system? To be used. And who is it used by? It's used by people. So, on one hand, you need to be able to say, look, we do need systems, but unto what and why? Who are these for? Systems are for people, not the other way around. And so don't lose your humanity and your connection with the life of the business, the soul of the business. Like I've said before, with data and metrics, an EKG can show you your heart rate, but it can't tell you what's in your heart. It's a different kind of heart. You can see the numbers. You can even see that people have cleaned the bathroom, but you can't see that that person is about a day or two away from putting in their 2-week notice. But you can't see that that person wanted to try to talk to you about something that they experienced with a customer, but they felt that you were too rushed. You were too unavailable to be able to sit down and have that conversation. And it could have saved not only that person, but many people a lot of hassle because that customer was being toxic. How many of these things are happening because we are just so focused on the systems, the numbers, in the tech and all of the stuff that saves us. Oh, thank God. Whew, I just made it. I thought for a second I was going to have a one-on-one. Whew. This is what we do. Subconsciously, I think that's the kind of channeling that makes the worst kind of coffee in our bar. It's the channeling of water. How water is lazy. It goes to the path of least resistance. Well, the most resistance you'll ever experience is taking on the challenge of relationships and culture head on and often. And that creates, a little bit of hardship. It can be difficult, but under that kind of pressure, that's when the best extraction happens. That's what we need to be focused on. So systems are not everything. In fact, systems can actually damage your business if they are a replacement for the relationship, the communication, the people, the heart behind the thing. It's not about the thing, it's about the heart behind the thing. So just wanted to share that with you because it was really, I thought, brilliant to bring up, and all inspired by a comment by Andrew Sinclair over at Mad Lab. I'll have one of our show notes linked to his episode on the show. But what did you think about this? I always tell you, let me know what you think. And I sincerely mean it. These solo episodes tend to be shorter because we're not doing these like long form interviews with subject matter experts or Founder Fridays. But it's by design too, because I want you to just invest, 30, so maybe I get a little long-winded sometimes, 30, 40 minutes, and really think about this stuff. What you spend the most time on is what's the most important for you. So if you're not really seeing yourself spend a lot of time in communication and in thinking about and acting upon fostering relationships through recognition, affirmation, praise, coaching, guidance, engendering trust through constant investment into this type of stuff, seeking understanding, applying empathy consistently across your cafe. I mean, there's all sorts of things we could talk about here. And there's an episode we did called 10 Steps to Being a People First Leader in the coffee shop. It's one of the first episodes we ever did on the show, actually. It remains one of the most popular ones, I think, because it was pretty clear. And I don't know if there's a different style that I had back then or not, but I think I was a little bit slower in the way I talk. I'm a little more hopped up these days. I don't know what gives. But anyway, I hope you're doing well. This, of course, is, you know, one of many episodes that we have on the show dealing with things like relationships and systems and leadership, management, coffee, and so forth. We're all about helping you make a really good coffee shop happen because we need more beautiful moments over coffee in this world, and this virtuous cycle that needs to be constantly tended to. We need to keep that momentum going. And hopefully, these conversations and your response to these conversations help that momentum keep going. So, email Chris at keystotheshop.com. Follow on Instagram at keystotheshop. LinkedIn, you can follow me, Chris DeFirio. And otherwise, you can send me a DM. If you're interested in coaching and consulting, I'm here. Let's talk and we'll see what we can do. And that's it. So thanks, everybody. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.